Well, hello. I'm here with Julie, a client of mine, and I thought that it would be nice to give a little bit of hear Julie's ideas, thoughts, feelings about um, stillness and quiet. And I talk to you guys all the time about it, but it's nice to hear it in someone else's words. So, Julie, um, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. So, anything you want to say, like what I'm giving this course called A Call to Quiet. And so I have a feeling some people might think, it's like just this concept or like, just like, well, why would I want to go into quiet or stillness? And, you and I have gone there quite often together, I feel. So what do you have to say about those places?
Um, I think as someone who's been conditioned to be a doer and very active, and I don't know that I didn't know that I wanted to go there
Mm, hmm
at first, and
hmm
then
Because you
we
just hadn't really heard of, or like you hadn't
right
gone
because
to
I
them.
yeah, and I think it's not about just sitting still.
Uh-huh.
That there's actually I was it was really it's been interesting to discover its natural location within me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that there is this, yeah, it feels like a hidden realm sort of, where peace exists.
Uh-huh.
um and I think that it's, yeah, that it's not just, oh, sit still and be quiet, and if thoughts come, let them go, but actually there's just this, it's so much deeper, and it's this place that to me is, of a knowing with a capital N,
Mhm.
and calm, and a wisdom. And I'll sometimes get little bits of poetry will sort of just come to me when I'm there.
That's
And
right. I
yeah,
remember
it's
it makes me think of that time when you had that T.S. Eliot poem come.
totally, and it's something I've known for years now, and suddenly it just like, oh, he's been here too.
Right, like, oh, yeah, it has that, I like to reference Adyashanti there where he says he says the truth is self-authenticating, but I love
Mm,
that. It's like once you touch it, and I think we could use this to describe what happened with the poem for you. It's like, oh, it's self-authenticating, like, when you see it, you know it.
yeah, yeah, and I think it's a place that, having been there together a number of times now, I've been interested, that I've started craving going back there. Um, and it's not, sometimes it's easy to find my way, and um, sometimes I need help, or I don't quite make it. But there's something about it that's calling me, which I guess is the name of your course. I hadn't thought about it, but
It was named for a reason, Call to Quiet. It's like
yeah,
it's not just words.
yeah. And I can, you can even hear it in my voice right now. There's a rhythm I find there, that I just go, oh yes, that's my rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've noticed with you, of course I work with all different kinds of clients, and so it's like you notice it's like a place, right? This quiet or stillness, but there's sort of different expressions, and I don't know exactly if it's based on personality or life experience, past life, but you often reference this cadence or like rhythm, and it's
Yeah.
unique. at least you're the first person I've heard really bring that part of it up a lot. Um, so it's cool to me how it like we all go to this same place. Like I think it's a universal, it's here. But when we bring our kind of own whatever our own selves down in there, there's like these different parts that every person is unique in where they touch and how it kind of like um expresses through them.
Yeah. And it's almost like, oh, I didn't realize I was missing that thing.
Yeah. I relate to that.
And then every time I go back, I'm like, it's a sort of remembering anew. Oh, I didn't realize I'd been missing that, or I'd slipped away from this until I find myself back here. So I guess for me, it's a place of, and I hope I continue to go there a lot, that every time I learn a little bit more from it, or
Mm.
I refind myself, or whatever self is, but I sort of,
Mhm.
I refine something that feels true and authentic and like it's making me whole.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find that like once I remember when I think I was there a lot when I was a little kid, but as like, as young adulthood and mothering, working, etc., kind of came through my life, I lost the access to that quiet. And I remember it was like and all of a sudden I was at an Adyashanti meditation retreat and he guided to the quiet. Much like, I mean, the things I do with you sometimes it's it's very similar to what he does. And like I didn't invent that. And he was guiding to this quiet and his prompt is to listen to the quiet places inside. And I remember when I first like was like, oh, and I touched it and it was like this whole place that was just there. And he often says it's you don't have to create it. It's
Mm-hmm.
already there. And does that feel like, I mean, I feel like every time I say that to someone who's touched that, they're like, oh yeah. But does that feel like you don't have to create it? It's like it's there.
Yeah, because I think um, it feels so universal
Mm.
and so timeless that it does feel greater. It's just far greater than what my imagination could ever could ever
Uh-huh.
do. You
Yeah.
know that, and there is something about having little bits of writing from a past sort of coming to and noticing, oh, that person was there. Well, then I couldn't have created it because it's been here. And it's
Uh-huh.
something it's interesting to me that to go inward to inward, and it feels like a down for me
Mm.
to find it. But then when you find at that most innermost spot is actually the thing that is so universal and timeless.
Mm. Yeah. I'd never like thought of it exactly how you just described that. Yeah, I too go down and I go down to find it. Um, but everyone expresses slightly different with that. Like I can also go outward and and I think we've done this. I can't remember where it's like you look at an object,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have we done that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you like see I'm partially saying this for people. I'm not saying it for you. For the people listening, it's like there's this way of like also expanding outward, like kind of expanding awareness outward and um you see the stillness and quiet everywhere. Maybe just speak to that a moment if you something comes to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the separation between me and everything and everyone else starts to get blurry.
Mm. Mhm.
All of these sort of
Mm.
commodified, um, I don't even know, I wouldn't even begin to get into what are all the societal reasons why we other and think self versus everything. But there's a communion and a
Yeah.
blurring of lines.
That's a nice word for it. I feel that word communion. I hadn't thought of that
Mm,
word. Um, oh, it's beautiful. Makes me feel like, like you were saying earlier, it's come before us. Like
mhm,
probably communion in sacred rituals is about, you know, it's like referring to a real thing, not just a word,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Mm. And one thing I want to, I think this question comes up when people are starting, maybe if they haven't touched the quiet or presence or peace inside. Um, but there can be this question of like, what's the benefit? Like, what's the point? If I have to do this in my life and I have to, um, and I don't mean to put any me above anyone. I definitely grapple with this myself. Like, well, why should I spend time in quiet when there's like, dinner to be made, or there's dishes in the sink, or I've got to go do this errand. Um, what's my sense is we don't ultimately go to the quiet for anything, but there are benefits. And so I wonder if you could say anything about what you've noticed, like out in this, in this life, having spent time in the quiet.
I think, I mean, yeah, I'm very accustomed to those doing thoughts of like, we don't have time for that. um, yes. And sometimes those thoughts have their way and prevent me from going there. And sometimes I'm able to get them to come for the ride.
Yeah.
um, but I think I guess for me,
Hmm.
what is the point of this life if it's just a to-do list,
Mm.
if it's just a hustle? And it's so easy for those doing thoughts and the to-do lists and the, well, I've had these commitments and I don't have enough time. It's so I've spent so long listening to them
Hmm.
and upholding them and being,
In homage to them.
yeah, and I'm great at them. I'm really I mean, you know it, like
Yes, you are. Yes.
I can do that.
Yes, you
And
can.
so it's just so interesting, whatever deep part of me that gets fed
Mhm.
every time I go to the stillness, I can sometimes just feel it just want a yearning
Mm.
to go back there. And when I'm able to go back there, and the best way I know is through your beautiful guidance there. When
Just to
I'm
date.
yeah, I've had a couple of forays on my own, but
Mhm.
it's most reliable through your guidance. When I feed that yearning
Mm.
and then I do reemerge into the world, it all just feels better. It just
Mm.
feels lighter. I um I feel the want. I feel what the desires were that gave me these things that I might have thought as to-dos, but actually are just wants of how I am in the world and how I'm spending this precious time of mine.
Mm.
And I have I'm just, I'm hesitant to use the word present because it feels cliche, but I do think it is. I am more likely to be in the moment and enjoying what I am doing if I have dipped into that place recently before.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, presence is the same as any word, right? Like
Mhm.
same as stillness, same as quiet. Like it's a real experience or place. But yeah, the word becomes cliche when we just kind of like, boop, we just like
Yeah.
say it. And I don't mean you are right there, but like, yeah, it loses its, it becomes like, worn out,
Mhm, mhm.
if you don't drop into the experience that it points to.
Yeah. And when I leave, when I rebubble up from
Mhm,
the stillness, the quiet, that peaceful place, I am 100% where I am when I am. And not just I can sense that through my senses. I can feel that through the entirety of my body. I can feel it in my pace. And that to me is I guess it's not why I go there right now, but
mhm,
it does feel
mhm,
like a really nice benefit afterwards.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, 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 I experienced the same. Well, I mean, I could talk about this all day. It's my favorite topic, one of them. Um, However, I think it'd be nice to end soon for our listeners. So, is there anything, you just really feel called to mention or anything that occurs to you to say here before we go?
um, I think just that it's another another reason it just feels right is that it's surprisingly easy to fall into. And
Mhm,
it's I think the thing that makes it hard to get there, and that's the thing that I think would sort of necessitates guidance, learning how to get there potentially is it's as so many things, it's us. It feels to me like it's my thoughts that hold me from getting there and my resistances and my strivings.
mhm,
And it's the letting go of all of those tensions and thoughts and just falling back.
mm.
And the falling back feels as natural as gravity, right? It's just
Yeah, when you start to tap in, just you saying it, I kind of like started bringing it up in me, and once that fallback starts, I can just feel it, like I can feel it.
yeah. And so it's the help with the clearing out of the self resistances and yearnings and strivings and wantings and doings and tensions, distractions. And then once that's the hard step for me,
Mm,
and then it just feels natural.
mhm, mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much. Um, I appreciate you talking today.
My pleasure.